Are you thinking of taking a toddler to Rome? Are you picturing romantic strolls past the Colosseum? Or are you breaking into a cold sweat imagining a stroller versus cobblestone battle of wills? I admit my first thought was, hell no, we ain't going to Rome. But it was my wife's 40th birthday and she really wanted to go. We flew on Ryanair, but I made a mistake with the booking. Ryanair offers a family ticket, which is 2 adults and a child. Unfortunately, it's a child over the age of 2. At this point, Heath was under the age of 2, and it meant that he couldn't check in because their online system doesn't allow that. Which was annoying because they did sell us the ticket knowing that he was under the age of 2. Now at Glasgow Airport they did promise that it was all sorted and that we wouldn't have any problems with the return leg. But when we got to the airport to come back to Glasgow, they didn't know anything about the change and we had to spend an hour getting it all sorted. Rome can be incredibly busy, but we travelled in mid-February when it was quiet. I'd say it was the perfect time to visit. The weather was nice and there wasn't any large crowds at any of the venues. We stayed in Trastevere. A few people say it's too touristy, but I was sold when I read that there was no traffic there. Keeping a toddler away from busy roads sounded ideal. Trastevere is described as the culinary heart of Rome, but I wasn't planning on visiting any restaurants. We bought pizza from takeaways and went to the local supermarket. To get around, we used a baby carrier. We tried public transport, but it was slower taking buses and trams than it was walking everywhere. We decided to get our bearings on day one by visiting one of the most famous sites in Rome, the Vatican. If you're buying tickets in advance for any of the sites, then buy them direct from the Italian government websites. Don't buy them from any of the ticket sites. They are charging a markup and all they're doing is reselling the same ticket you'd have gotten if you had gone direct to the government website. St. Peter's Square, located directly in front of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, was constructed between 1656 and 1667. It is a masterpiece of Baroque architecture. Its defining feature is the massive colonnades, 4 columns deep, that sweep around the vast elliptical area. This symbolises the maternal arms of the church embracing the faithful. At the centre of the piazza stands an ancient Egyptian obelisk, which was brought to Rome in 37 AD, which acts as the central focal point. There are also 2 grand fountains which add symmetry and grandeur to the space. St. Peter's Square serves as a gathering place for hundreds of thousands of people who come to see the Pope deliver his blessings and to participate in major religious ceremonies. It is free to get into St. Peter's Square. There is no queue to get in, but I've heard it can take up to an hour in the summer. It's also free to go into the Basilica. You can go to the catacombs first, but I wouldn't recommend it as even in low season it was absolutely mobbed. Once we got into the Basilica it was much better. There were crowds, but it wasn't too busy. We let Heath out and he had a great time running around. There's a lot to see here and it's well worth your while taking your time to go around and take it all in. The current basilica took 120 years to build, from 1506 to 1626. It replaced the original basilica that stood for over 1200 years. The project involved a succession of renowned architects, including Raphael and most notably Michelangelo, who became the chief architect at the age of 71. Deep beneath the high altar lies an necropolis, which is home to the tomb of St. Peter, the first pope. Excavations in the 1940s revealed the tomb with Greek graffiti that translates to "Peter is here." We paid extra to take the lift up to the rooftop so that we could get to the top of St. Peter's Dome. The dome is the highest dome in the world and was designed by Michelangelo, although he did not live to see the completed dome. A short staircase takes you to the base of the dome. From here you can see down into St. Peter's Basilica. I admit I felt a bit queasy looking down as we were very high up. A staircase and an elevator take you to the base of the dome. From there, a narrow, winding staircase of 320 steps continues between the inner and outer shells, conforming to the curve of the dome itself. before emerging onto the outdoor viewing lantern for breathtaking 360-degree views of St. Peter's Square and the city of Rome. I managed to get up with Heath in my backpack, but it was tricky. The corridor was very tight. After visiting the Vatican and had booked lunch, this gave us a chance to walk into central Rome, passing some of the beautiful squares and fountains. It was pretty busy even though we visited in the quiet season. I'd hate to walk around it in high season. Lunch was in Armand al Pantheon. You have to book a place here a month in advance, but it's worth it as the food was amazing. I recommend the roast artichoke. I think the key with a toddler on the first day of a holiday is having a good plan for lunch. It meant we had a focus for what to do after the morning and a base to plan the rest of the day. Heath was more interested in playing with iPods than he was in having lunch. The Pantheon was an interesting venue, but it only took 10 minutes to look around it. It was originally constructed as a temple dedicated to the gods of ancient Rome, but has served as a Christian church and a final resting place for illustrious figures. Heath was not impressed by the Pantheon, and he was fast asleep as we walked around. After the Pantheon, we decided to have a walk around central Rome just to see the sights and get some bearings. We did come across Trevi Fountain, which was absolutely mobbed. It is a beautiful sight, but there were so many people there that we didn't hang around for too long. Toddlers aren't too keen on ancient monuments, so for the morning of day 2 we took a break from history to check out the local zoo. The Parcus di Roma is set within the sprawling Villa Borghese Gardens, a large park about 30 minutes from the city centre. We took a bus there, but it was very slow. We actually walked back and it took less time than the journey there. Originally formed in 1911, the zoo was designed by park creator Carl, who championed the innovative concept of barless enclosures, using moats and ditches to separate animals from the public. Supposedly there are 1,200 animals from around 200 different species in the zoo, but I didn't count them, so I'll just take their word for it. Highlights include the Sumatran tigers, Asiatic lions and the reptile house, which showcases a variety of snakes, lizards and crocodiles. Heath really enjoyed it and it was a nice way to spend the morning, although the park did look like it could do a bit of TLC as it was a little run down in places. Overall, it wasn't too expensive, so I can't complain. Unsurprisingly, after a morning spent in the zoo, Heath fell asleep. We noticed that on the way back we could detour via the Spanish steps. I can't say what all the fuss is about with these, it's just some steps. Didn't find them particularly interesting. We didn't hang around for long, we just continued on our journey. There was a lot of construction work going on in Rome whilst we visited. This was due to it being a Jubilee year, also known as a Holy Year. This is celebrated roughly every 25 years, or occasionally recalled earlier by the Pope. A Jubilee year encourages the faithful to embark on pilgrimages, to repent their sins and forgive the sins of others, and also to renew a focus on their spiritual life. Before going to Rome, the one thing I'd said was, I will not go into the Colosseum. What's the point? It looks really good from the outside. There's absolutely no need to go inside it. But I changed my mind when we got there and there was actually no queue to get in. And I thought, might as well see what all the fuss is about. Was it worth going into? Probably not. It was absolutely mobbed inside. Having so many people in there really does sort of lessen the experience of being inside the venue. I think if you can get there early and have less people around, it'll be good. But otherwise, I would just enjoy the sights from the outside. We finished off the day with Heath's favourite thing about Rome: ice cream. One of the things I noticed about Rome was the prevalence of graffiti. Now supposedly this goes back to ancient times and graffiti was quite common, but nowadays it's the same as anywhere in the world. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but it is very noticeable. Torre Argentina Cat Sanctuary is a cat shelter in Rome. This makes use of the ancient ruins by providing a home within them for around 150 cats. After the excavation of a temple in 1929, feral cats were drawn to the area and have been sheltered by the Roman pillars and fed by locals ever since. On day 3 we decided to visit the Children's Museum. This promised to be a fun place for Heath to visit. We decided again to walk rather than use public transport, even though it was an hour away to the museum, just because it was easier. The buses just took so long. On the way there we stopped at any churches we saw and had a look around just to admire the wonderful architecture. I wasn't sure what to expect from the Children's Museum. When we got there, there was a lot of parents waiting and a lot of children standing in a queue. They do, I think, 3 sessions a day and you just book on to a specific time, which gives you access to the museum for about an hour and a half. Once we went in, it was basically a big play barn for kids. Lots of fun stuff to do. Heath particularly enjoyed the water fountains and playing with the pipes. And there was also a little shop that you could wander around where they had sort of plastic vegetables and plastic fruits. You could take a basket and go and pretend that he was buying stuff. This bit was quite fun. It was like TV screens on the wall. You could run up, touch them, and the creatures would move around. But really, Heath loves the water, so he was back playing with that as soon as he could. The venue had 2 floors. Downstairs was where all the fun stuff was for toddlers could enjoy. Upstairs was more the learning part. I don't know why these venues always try and teach you stuff. I would rather just go somewhere which was just fun all the time. Heath still had a good time. I don't know if he learned anything though. All the other families and kids were very friendly, so it was a nice place to visit. On the way back we noticed lots of people wearing Welsh tops. It turned out the Six Nations rugby was on that day and Wales were playing Italy. And what a surprise, Heath fell asleep. On our last day in Rome it rained, but it only lasted a few hours. As it was wet, we decided to head indoors to a place called Icono Rome, which is only a short walk from the Pantheon. Icono is a newly opened interactive space that is advertised as being super fun for kids, teens and adults alike. I believe there are Iconos in other cities too. They present it as an interactive experience, which is basically a series of rooms, each with sensory elements to explore. The first room has a pool of translucent balls you can and should dive into. Another room has a snow cannon that covers you in paper snowflakes. Another room, again, is dark, but with Japanese-inspired yellow lanterns. The mural above the ball pit was created by one of Michelangelo's apprentices. In any other city, this would be a major tourist attraction in itself, but Rome has so much to see that here it's just a throwaway site and a playroom. If I wasn't here with a toddler, I'd probably say that the experience is overpriced and a bit short of things to do, but with a toddler, it was great fun seeing how much Heath enjoyed it. Although he did swing one of the lanterns at my face, and I discovered they weren't just made of paper. They had a solid bit of metal in them too. I ended up with a very sore nose. Overall, Rome with a toddler was a challenge, but good fun. After this, we went to Venice, which was a whole different set of challenges. Toddlers love boats and water and don't pay much attention to where they're going. You can see that in a separate video. Heath also learnt the hard way that the lanterns weren't just made of paper. Thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with images of Heath running around enjoying himself.